Well, hello everyone. We hope you can hear us all okay. We are delighted to be joining you here today for our official very first live stream of our wonderful series on Soul Search, The Infinite Pathway. This is Tom. Say hello,
Hi,
Tom.
everybody. Good to have you here.
Great, and we're delighted to be here. So this being our very first live stream, we want to make sure that everyone and everything is doing what it should. So let's just bear with us for a little minute and then we'll get things going. There we go. I think it's working. All right, then. Okay, well, for those of you that don't know who are joining us from the Soul Search Facebook group community, our own Facebook page as well, and also on YouTube, we have a fabulous series over at Soul Search TV. If you go to soulsearch.tv/on-demand, you can find all sorts of wonderful practitioners who have amazing television series there. Among them all is, of course, us with The Infinite Pathway. Tom, do you want to tell them a little bit about that?
Well, we're about to watch it, so we're looking forward to you seeing it. We're hoping that during this time, while we watch together, if you have questions, if you have comments, we're really interested in having you sort of share what your impressions are as you watch the program, what strikes you, what's important to you. And of course, we're always happy to answer questions. We'll spend time, especially after the video's done, it's about a half an hour, where we'll be able to kind of talk through. So the question I'm going to pose to you as we start this is very simple. What in your life would change if you fully realized your eternal nature? That's going to be the subject of our very first episode in this series.
Right. We're just going to pause for a little bit here, and we're just going to make sure that everything's doing what it should. So let's just stay with us for a bit. Okay, we are back with you and we're just about to get ready here. So give us a quick second.
Just put it all the way down. There you go.
There we go. Okay, great live. Okay, so let's get ready to watch together our very first episode of our TV series.
Our very first watch party, can you tell?
Our very first watch party. I know. Some of you guys out there make it look so easy, but we've done quite a lot to coordinate that for you today. So let's just get into it here. Let me just bring in some of the other information here. Okay.
It looks like we're the big picture. I think you want us the little picture.
Yeah, we'll organize that for you. Here we go. Share screen. Okay, great. Let's see if we can get this looking a little bit better for everyone. That's a little bit better, isn't it? Okay, great. And we're going to make this full screen. Okay, great. So are you ready to watch with us? Let's go.
Have a remarkable ability to speak for a spiritual collective they call the Guides. They are unique in that they channel the guides together, sharing one mind as they deliver messages. The primary interest of the guides is helping us all live consistently in the state of joy, accomplished through a set of simple practices they call the Infinite Pathway. Infinite Pathway, Journey to Self-Realization.
Hi, I'm Thomas Workman.
And I'm AJ Kavanagh. Welcome to the Infinite Pathway, the journey to self-realization.
Throughout this series, we'll share messages and insights from the guides to help us realize our true identity and live our very best lives.
Yes, and as many of you may be sensing, this is a unique time in our evolution. There are exciting and new opportunities for us to grow in our consciousness.
And the guides offer all of us a chance to reconsider some of our most foundational beliefs and ideas about who we are and why we're here.
Very true. Both Tom and myself actually love to discuss the insights the guides share with us after our channeling sessions, whether they're for ourselves or for our clients. We've called in the guides for you now to join with us, and we're aware of their presence all around us.
Yeah, they often like to pop in throughout these discussions. In this case, rather than our being in trance, we'll just let them whisper in our ear as the episode unfolds.
So just so you know, they're right here, gently guiding this conversation.
There's no better place to start our first episode on the Infinite Pathway than by understanding our eternal nature. Now, just recently, during one of our Conversations with Source monthly online group channelings, the guides reminded everyone that we are eternal beings who are on an infinite pathway. Let's listen to what they had to say.
We welcome you again to this conversation. So very important, always important, for it is a matter of your existence, a matter of your eternity that we wish to focus your attention on. How challenging at times for you to be caught up instead in the moment and in the particulars and miss the larger image of your lives, of your eternal trajectory, of the pathway in which you as a soul are moving.
So let's break down what they mean by this and what else they want us to understand.
Let's start by explaining the guide's view of eternity. Now, they talk about, and we just heard them mention, an eternal trajectory or pathway in which we as souls are moving.
Yes, and seeing ourselves as being on an eternal trajectory is very different from how most of us see our lives.
Right, so let's dig in and start to understand what the guides mean by this concept of eternity.
Very good.
Now, for me, most of my life, I understood that the person I am in this life is the person I am for all of eternity. In other words, Tom lives, he dies, he goes to heaven, and then we have an eternity of Tom. Well, that's how a lot of people think about this,
They
right?
do.
That we are created when we're born, and then we live and die, and then we become something else or nothing at all, or we simply spend eternity in heaven or hell, depending on your belief. We really don't think an awful lot about this, and we certainly don't talk about it very much. But what the guides are suggesting is something very different. They want us to think beyond our current incarnation.
Yes, and that's been my understanding as well, that we have lived before and we will live again. However, that aspect of me, the AJ that you see now, actually does not. When I transition, that aspect of me returns to the eternal part of me that is my soul, and it remains there as an aspect of my soul together with all of my other previous incarnations.
That's right. Let's hear the guides talk about this a little.
Who use now to inhabit this room. No, who you are is a soul, a spirit, and a light that you are able to see on a regular basis. You may find living right inside the center of you, this light. This is you. There you are. This is who you are, and this light exists for eternity. It uses each and every of your incarnations on a pathway towards the realization.
So the truth is, I've been religious most of my life and really from a Christian tradition. And yet I've never really understood too much about what my soul is because we never talked about it other than what happened to it after I died and where it went from there. But we never talked about it during my life. And so when I started to develop my gifts and was talking now suddenly to the universe, it was one of my first questions. What is this thing about my soul? Is that me? Am I me? What's me? And I remember one night trying to fall asleep, and I was suddenly given a very clear image right at the center of my being of a pin light, a very bright light with rays flashing out of it. It was small, but it was strong. And at the same time, I heard a voice that said to me, "Ah, there you are." I'll never forget it. In fact, I think about it often and I return to that image as often as I can whenever I'm confused about who I really am.
What a beautiful story.
Thanks.
So, when a soul incarnates, what exactly does that mean?
Mm.
Well, it means that you exist in a body and you exist in a realm and you exist in a dimension. Perhaps not Earth, perhaps not this dimension, perhaps not even the third dimension. But your soul has chosen this particular incarnation so that it may experience a unique set of circumstances which allow for the environment to give you optimal expansion and optimal growth for your soul to develop. Now, let's share what the guides have to say about this. They say, your soul moves across the journey of eternity and is that which comes in and out of incarnations. So, what does that mean? Well, what that means is that you are a part of something that is much bigger than your life right now. Your incarnation is actually just one of many, and it's one that is part of your eternal being.
So let's be sure we all understand what we mean by that. When we say that our purpose is to live before and live again, what does that actually mean? And more importantly, was that the way it was designed to be, that we would just keep living before and living again?
Yeah, I mean, these are great questions, and we can certainly talk about this more. But first, let's listen to what the guides have to say.
What is your purpose? Many of you ask, well, why am I here? And the answer is, I'm here to help me realize the true nature of my soul. What was I created to be? For you must understand, you were created to complete an idea that was missing in the universe. You were created as a part of a universal plan. This is your journey over many, many lifetimes. And each lifetime, each incarnation, this very time for you is an opportunity to address and to work with a variety of energies that will ultimately lead to a better understanding of your soul, a better realization. Ah, we love this word, realization. A realization of who it is that you are and what it is you were here for and why it is you are created and where you fit in the entire universe.
Well, now I think I get it, and hopefully you do too, that the reason why we titled this series The Infinite Pathway is because it is the journey of self-realization. We often forget who we are, our eternal nature, and the wisdom that comes from that. Every one of our lifetimes, our soul uses every experience to learn a little bit more about itself. So it's with this in mind that we just had to call this show The Infinite Pathway Journey to Self-Realization.
Makes complete sense, and it's such an exciting idea to consider, but it can be a little bit difficult to wrap our minds around us being infinite souls when we have so much to take in of our daily lives right now. You know, I don't know every one of my past lives, but I do feel I have glimpses into some of them.
Well, let's talk about that because you've mentioned to me several times a memory about one of your lives in ancient Egypt.
Yes, actually, it was a time during the 18th dynasty, and I was a high priest in the ancient city of Bubastis.
Wow. Well, what do you think the purpose of that life was? What were you meant to learn during that lifetime?
Yeah, well, that was a good question. And, you know, I don't exactly know. But what I do know is that incarnation, like every other one of my incarnations, was about my soul learning to discover an aspect of myself which had not yet been fully developed. And that I do know. But let me give you another example. There was an incarnation more recently where I was a leader in an army during the Civil War. And in that incarnation, my soul's purpose was not to understand war or to change others, but to understand for myself, my eternal being, about my true nature in the aspect of learning about pride.
Pride.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know I've studied a lot of my own Akashic records, and one of the trends that I've noticed is that some of the circumstances of my past lives seem connected to some of the circumstances in my current life.
Yeah, so you're saying that there's like a cumulative effect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's if each life is a little progressive.
And one builds on the other. That's another part of what the guides have said. Each of our incarnations, lifetime after lifetime, is intentional, and it serves to add to our soul's wisdom and is perfectly designed to lead us to an aspect of our own self-realization.
But let's be really clear about this. Does this mean that the universe's intent is that we just keep learning lessons again and again and again for all of eternity?
Well, you raise a good point, and we've yet to speak to the guides on this very subject. But there are many religious beliefs and philosophies out there which state the soul advances to a point of Godhead or God realization. Now, perhaps this could be the level of an ascended master, or it could simply be having reached oneness with source creator itself.
I don't think I'm there yet.
Neither am I, that's for sure.
Well, we'll certainly look forward to hearing the guides talk about this in the future.
Most definitely. But what we do know is the idea of the soul's journey of expansion. Your soul expands in its awareness within each and every moment of love and loss, and in each and every of its experiences. And it is with this desire to move towards self-realization, which is the same for all sentient beings, not just humans, as the guides explain. Consider that there is always the desire in everything, in everyone, for self-realization. There is the desire for self-realization in the choices we make in our careers, in our relationships, in the way in which we live, the way in which we communicate, the way in which we manifest. It is all elements of desire towards self-realization, and this is universal amongst men and women and all living things on your planet and throughout the galaxy. So we have these individual lives and we have these learnings to advance our soul in its self-realization in each lifetime. But from a practical point of view, how does all of this knowing impact us right now as we go about our daily lives of raising a family, building a career, or even simply saving to buy a home?
Well, I know that the guides talk an awful lot about perspective. In other words, all those things of our daily lives, our career, our family, our home, from an eternal standpoint, means something a little bit different. Instead of just being the sum total of my current incarnation, each one of my experiences now has an eternal purpose.
Well, we know a lot of people whose families talk about this idea of a well-lived life, who have worked to create a legacy or something that they can feel to leave others after they've passed on, even if that's just the idea of financial wealth. But what the guides are saying about our eternal journey is that it's not about judging the success or failure of this life, but about having an understanding that the experience of this life, the good and the bad, actually serve a purpose. And that purpose is to advance our soul's understanding of each and every circumstance.
Yeah, I know for my life, I spent most of it trying to make the perfect choice so that I had the correct life. I lived that well-lived life, right? So from the school that I chose and the major that I chose and the classes that I took and the activities that I did to the way I tried to move my career and progress it up each step of that ladder, right? The home that I lived in and the family that I had, the whole 9 yards, was really designed to try and do it right. And I realized very soon that I didn't do it, didn't know how to do it right. I couldn't do it right. And so what I did, and I think many people do, is they blamed everyone else for not having a perfect life, as opposed to sort of understanding that we were never meant to have that perfect life.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, and I think a lot of people will be able to relate to that.
Mm.
The guides have more to say on that. They actually say
Do not look at your life circumstances as the whole of your experience, for your physical circumstances serve to expand your soul's journey. And that sure changes the pressure we put on ourselves, doesn't it? That we have to get everything right in this lifetime. Here's what the guides have said in a recent channeling session. You are coming into a state of consciousness, and we welcome you. We welcome you. We see you, and we sense a beautiful alignment. Coming into an understanding of your true nature. How critical at this time, how critical to finally have the blindfolds taken away, the blinkers removed, the veil lifted. Yes, yes, this is what you seek. This is what you desire. This is what brings you joy, for it brings you closer to a better understanding of who you are, your true nature. Your true nature is aligned with the nature of the universe. And the nature of the universe is love and joy and the highest vibrations.
So the next logical question is, why did I incarnate now? That's a very interesting question. And let's talk about what the guides think about this.
Well, you know, I believe it's because our incarnation offers our soul the most challenges for its growth and expansion.
Yeah, so that means that this incarnation offers the best challenges, right?
That's right.
Yeah, so when we think about some of those challenges that are going on that we came here to participate in, I mean, things like climate change or
Well, yeah, there's political
Yeah.
unrest, cultural and political tensions,
Yep.
economic uncertainty.
Yeah, the list goes on and on and on, right?
It does.
But it's not just about challenges, right? I mean, it's also about the experiences we're able to have here, the specific time of growth at this moment, right? So many of us have been sensing, especially since 2000 on, that this lifetime is when we're taking a big jump in our evolution, that more and more of us are opening up now to our empathic abilities and connection with others. In fact, here's what the guides have to say about this. The reason why you've chosen to incarnate now is because of the alignment that is occurring now. In other words, this lifetime is a time when we may find new solutions, but far more importantly, it's during this current incarnation that we have an opportunity right now to become conscious of our soul's self-realization, to move toward the higher understanding of increased compassion, affinity, joy, oneness.
Yeah, that really is a lot. So let's take a breath. Ah, well, that feels good. All right, then. And let's see how we can build this into some sort of an understanding of our eternal nature through something like a daily practice.
I love a daily practice.
Me too.
All right. So, having an understanding that I'm an eternal being currently existing in this incarnation as Tom makes me think differently about my own life. It's no longer becomes just about the things we choose to accomplish through our work, finances, or possessions that we've been saying, but more about the big picture of experiencing everything from the larger perspective of our soul's progression. So, one of the ways that I can do that is by changing the way I talk about my own life, getting rid of the one life to live and legacy kind of expressions and talking more about the lessons life is teaching me. This way I can start to speak every day from an eternal perspective.
Yes, you know, that's interesting. Looking at your life from an eternal perspective, looking at yourself from an eternal perspective, and looking at others from an eternal perspective really does change things. You can practice the way you think about people in your life from this eternal perspective, knowing now that they're just as you are, an intentional being. Now, each of our lives is purposed, and each of our interactions helps serve that aspect of our eternal nature, learn and advance.
True. So, from the parents that you chose when you incarnated to the driver who cut you off in traffic, you can start to practice looking at them differently as the teachers of your soul until this sort of becomes a habit for you, knowing that every experience is not there to hurt you or to punish you, but to serve you in your soul's expansion of its understanding. From the demanding boss that gives you a tough time every day, to the parent who appears cruel or distant, each one of these individuals is actually there for an eternal purpose. and that was the intention of their existence.
Absolutely. Well, this one is a difficult one for many of us to understand.
Yeah.
Tom, I remember a recent channeling session we did where the guides worked with a client of ours who came to us about a difficult relationship with a parent. Do you remember that one?
Oh yeah, really wounded her.
Yep, absolutely. She described how, as a child, she felt uncared for and unloved, and she could never really understand why. The client asked the guides why would she be born into such a family which showed her such neglect and gave her such heartache. And the guide's response was really quite interesting. They said that it was for her soul to learn the full depths of compassion.
And that was pretty amazing to us because really this person was one of the most loving, caring, and sensitive people we knew.
Yeah.
We expressed this to her and she agreed, saying, yeah, this makes good sense to me. She went on to explain that she'd been working on being compassionate her entire life. Because of those experiences, she wanted to be the exact opposite of what she experienced as a child. And you know what? She was.
Yeah, that was very powerful, especially when she realized how that relationship, from an eternal perspective, she herself had chosen, and how that relationship had helped her become the person that she had become today. Now, here's part of what the guides said. Your soul collects knowledge that it shall use across an eternity.
There's another spiritual practice that we can do here, and that's bringing in some mindful meditation around the eternal nature of your soul.
Yes, that actually is the I am meditation that many have found so powerful to remember. This is practicing the awareness that you are both a finite being incarnated with the I and an infinite, eternal being with the am. Now, spending time with this remembrance allows for some amazing insights to come forward into your consciousness as you seek this self-awareness. And it can also help diminish the many dramas that we face when we focus in on the mundane too much.
Yes. And there's another practice that goes along with this that's simply about letting go. When you realize the eternal nature, you realize that there's no need to do it all perfectly. Your experiences are just that, they're experiences. There's no one judging you. There's no right way of existing. There's no trophy in heaven, as we like to say often. So give yourself a break. It's not what you do, but what you be. Allow yourself to play in your circumstances, to make new choices, and to expand yourself into the experiences of the higher vibrations of happiness, love, and joy. And do this in everything that you do as often as you can, and we promise you your life will change.
Yeah, that's so wonderful to think about and a great practice to undertake. And that leads us to our next channel message from the guides. Every circumstance, whether it feels at the time like a tragedy or it feels at the time like a victory, every circumstance itself is disconnected to your joy when you allow it to be disconnected. And instead, it can be used to expand yourself.
Wow, that is fascinating to realize that we have that much responsibility, right? So we are just so very grateful that we've had this opportunity to share with you the channeled wisdom from the guides, which they share with us so freely and lovingly. We'd like to leave you with this very special message from the guides, as they also share with our eternal beings what being loved by the energy of Source itself is all about.
Well, that's all from us in this episode.
We'll see you next time.
And so we return as we began, with a breath. We encourage you in this breath to feel the fullness of Source's love for you, Source's adoration, its appreciation for your choice of incarnating now and for your very creation of a soul which is eternal. And take a breath and know how deeply you are loved. And do so as often as you are able. And with this, we are complete.
Coming up in the next episode of The Infinite Pathway. For the latest messages from Thomas, AJ, and the guides, please join them on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, or follow them on Instagram at Speaking From Source.
All right.
Wow, how
Episode
about
1.
that? We got through our first live stream of episode 1 together. Oh my goodness. Thank you for everyone who joined us today. A big shout out to Renee and Claudia, who left some great comments for us as well. And as we suggested, we've got 11 more weeks ahead of us as we go on the Infinite Pathway journey together. I see Tina McDonald has joined us as well for our watch party, and will be with us through the rest of the season together. So I think we did pretty good. We started off a little rocky, but we got there, and we're so grateful for your love and support and your energy. And we'll be checking in the comments as people respond to the live replay that'll be on the Soul Search Facebook community group. We'll be responding to your comments there, as well as on our Speaking From Source YouTube page and over at our Speaking From Source Facebook page as well.
So a comment that I have as I watch this again, you know, this has been a while since we originally produced it and filmed it. And so it's interesting to kind of think about the perspective now, right? And to think a little bit about, for example, you noticed in the episode we talk about, we'll have to check back in with the guides about that. And of course, we have learned much more insight about all of that. But it's interesting because what I've learned is that adopting that eternal mindset, that eternal nature, has really changed so much of things that used to freak me out.
Yeah.
Just don't freak me out anymore. Those circumstances just don't seem so do and die as they used to be. And so I think there's something really interesting in that development of a habit, right? The real purpose for the guides of all of this is to be able to give us principles we can adopt. And you're going to find every week they lay out really 12 of the most basic principles that they want us to adopt. They call them premises.
Yeah.
And they really like sort of thinking about how these premises are central beliefs that really carry us through. And so I encourage you to more than anything else, as you listen to the series, like we have, because we always say we're sitting in the front row of the classroom, trying to learn ourselves, right? We're human as well. And so really trying to take in that premise and say, how would it change the way that I behave? And so I started with the question, what would change for me if I could really fully realize my eternal nature on a daily, hourly basis?
Yeah.
And for me, what's changed really has been not letting things upset me so much, because I sort of understand, oh, that'll come back around for me. It's okay that I missed it the first time and didn't do the most with it that time. That really there's an awful lot of time. I think the other thing, and it was in the very last quote that I hope everyone caught. Can you imagine that Source is excited that we made the choice to incarnate? I really want you all to think about that for a minute, because I think a lot of us sort of think Source, we got away with it, right? We snuck in, right? And it was all our will, and it wasn't anyone else. And really, what this suggests is that Source not only allowed us to do that, but was thrilled that we did that. Thrilled that we have this opportunity to be here during this time. Isn't that exciting? That Source is like, yeah, good job, good choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're glad you're here. We need you.
Absolutely. You know, that's exactly right. You know, we need your light. And that is why we are here joining in these communities and having these discussions right now. And I know for myself, you know, sometimes you don't always have the best of circumstances, and knowing that there's something larger going on beyond this one life to live type of concept, that, you know, my soul is expanding and learning from all of my experiences, and in growing in ways that I don't necessarily need to understand the why or the how. So I can just sort of let it go. I can just turn it over to spirit. I can turn it over to the divine, and, you know, let the divine do what it does best. And, you know, it reminds me of that great book that was written, I think maybe in the late 70s or early 80s, and I'm dating myself a little bit here, but it was that Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, do you remember that one?
Yeah, I sure do. I sure do. Well, we are happy to take, hi, Sue, welcome, glad to have you here. We you know, you mentioned this, Sue, and I think it's a really important point. Finding speakers like us, finding programs like this, finding Soul Search,
Yeah,
and finding some of the people who are sharing messages from Spirit is all part of the master plan.
yeah.
That is how we're expanding so exponentially, right? And so it's also no coincidence that you found it.
Yeah.
The guides love to say, and I know Abraham Hicks says it as well, but our guides have said the same thing. All you have to do is ask. Just, if you seek it, you'll find it. The Bible wasn't kidding, is what they have said to us. The Bible really wasn't kidding. And so there's this wonderful opportunity to say, all I need to do is ask, and it's fulfilled for me. And so I'm so delighted when people say, oh, I found this right at the right time.
Yeah.
That certainly was the case for me. I was really ready to kind of throw in the towel. I was so sick of my whole life being this career and this routine and trying to do it right and failing miserably constantly, that I remember sort of saying, you've got to show me something else. This can't be it.
Yeah, is that all there is?
And you know, within weeks, I was exposed to some spiritual teaching that really started to turn everything around for me.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, I don't know about the rest of you out there, but when I woke up on New Year's Day and I opened up my social media and everything, the news and everything I was seeing was, I just did not feel aligned to it at all. And I thought, you know, one of my daily practices is not getting engaged in this and finding communities and finding programs that, like Sue said, we do align with. You know, that is so important in terms of managing your vibration and, you know, creating everyday joy for yourself so that you don't get pulled down into the mire of things. And also so that you don't feel quite as polarized. Right. You know, you come back to your center, you come back to yourself, and you come back to your gratitude, knowing that the divine has got you, the divine is holding you and carrying you all the way.
So I have a confession to make. This episode was really hard to plan. This very first episode, we knew that this should be number one, that this was one of the most basic premises that the guides wanted to express. But I thought, oh, how do I write a half-hour program about eternity? Oh my goodness! And
will it take an eternity?
And who the heck am I?
Yeah,
to
right.
even be the one who comments about that. But it was great fun to sort of see it come together. And really what we did is we, for every episode, simply pulled all of the messages from the guides and let them speak.
Yeah.
And let them sort of lay out what they want to say about the subject as a whole. And once that happened, it was easy to pull it together.
Absolutely. Well, look, we're delighted that you joined us for the best part of an hour today. We hope that we've had an opportunity to share with you a little bit about what we do and the guides, and also to come together in community. This really is a time of coming together and sharing that vibration and those alignments. And so if you're watching this on YouTube, go over to the Soul Search Facebook community and join their group. Sign up for our Wisdom Wednesday emails at our website, speakingfromsource.com. And we are currently in the process of a relaunch, actually. So probably tomorrow would be the best day to do that, because we're relaunching right now. But there's so much here for you, and we're delighted to share the wisdom of the guides with you. So come back and join us.
Come watch us again. Come watch with us.
And when's it going to be? Next Thursday.
This same bat time.
Same bat channel.
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely. I don't know who remembers that.
I know who remembers that. You can tell we're old.
I know. Okay, then. Well, thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Great
Blessings
to be with you today.
you all.
Have a great evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye for now.